All right, here we are, back at it again. Maybe I should just write on the title screen, like what session number we're on. Today is session number 8. Very cool. Oh man. So, some of you may be wondering, why am I starting an hour later than normal? I know this is the most exciting part of every video, is me talking about my morning habits and whatnot. Yeah. I guess stream, not video. Yeah, no, I just had to stay up really late working, and I was up till like 1 o'clock, and I thought, I'm probably gonna need an extra hour in the morning, so I pushed back this video, or this stream, by an hour for that reason. I need my sleep. I also need breakfast because I was really hungry. Yeah, all right, that's my excuse. All right, cool, moving forward. All right, so for those of you who don't know, this is the Master Shots Volume 2 challenge, which I do regularly as a warm-up drawing session. It's basically an exercise I developed over the years for helping me to get better at storyboarding and storytelling and being able to solve problems and to be intuitive when boarding instead of overthinking scenes, and to learn how to move ahead with each drawing and then get through a scene as fast as possible, which then allows you to quickly edit it and make changes instead of sitting on a single scene for like an entire day and trying to make it perfect. It's better to get the scene out, I don't know, maybe 5 times, and then you can see which one you like more. Tasty coffee. All right, so how does this work? So essentially what I do is I combine 2 sections or prompts from the book Master Shots Volume 2 using a random dice roller. So I roll 2 different numbers, and then I figure out which section of the book that I'm going to choose based off those numbers. I combine those 2 together, and then I say, hey, I have to storyboard a scene that is based off of these 2 prompts. The idea is to have an average drawing rate of 1 drawing every 15 to 20 seconds, and then ideally I do this in 22-minute increments. So hopefully by the end of each 22-minute increment, I'll have 90 drawings done. Usually somewhere between 80 to 90 drawings. I think yesterday it was like, I got like 160 drawings done, 158 drawings, but it was like 2.5 sessions or something like that. I think I drew for like 45 minutes, 46 minutes. I don't know. A little slower than normal. So, I was about to make a joke, but I don't think I will. Yeah, let me think. All right, I'm gonna roll the dice as soon as I bring up the website. And we shall see where I'll go with this. Okay. I rolled 49. Well, this is really convenient because my book was open to 51, which means I don't have to flip very many pages. So let's see. What is section 4.9? 4.9 is Roundtable. So section 4 in Master Shots Volume 2, if I recall, is primarily about how to set up scenes that are group scenes, where you have multiple characters and you need to cut back and forth between them. So Roundtable, I believe, is just the idea of using a round table, that they're convenient because characters aren't overly emphasized on in one area over another, and so you can kind of shift between them, like a round table where everyone's around the table. Wow, what do you know? And then usually you do, you know, some kind of shot like, you know, you can do like the scene from Reservoir Dogs in the opening where the camera's going behind characters. And then whenever the characters wipe the screen, you know, like that. Or he should be bigger if he's wiping the screen. There, he's huge. He's humongous. Humongous what? That is a dated reference at this point. Okay. I'm now becoming old. Yeah, and then every time the camera passes behind someone, you can reveal a new character who's talking, and he'll do his thing where he'll talk. And then someone else is going to wipe the foreground. Yeah, that's how it's used in Reservoir Dogs. I don't know if that's what Master Shots Volume 2 is referencing, so I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. And that is I'm going to very quickly actually read the section. Because most of these sections in this book I have like semi-memorized. So like I can just immediately look at the section name and be like, ah, yeah, I know this kind of shot. I'm guessing this is what it means by round table, where you're intentionally setting up all the characters on the same playing field, on the same level. And so then that means characters have to be more competitive with each other to get attention. Because when you have square tables or any table that has like a designated hierarchy, naturally characters will compete with each other based off of which end of the table they are at, or how close or far away they are from each other. However, when you're on a round table, everyone's equidistant, and so then you don't get this like power dynamic without the characters having to do something to earn it. But yeah, I'm gonna read this section very, very quickly. Fortunately, it is only half a page, but yeah, I think that's what the book's getting at. It's talking about round table. And honestly, I think round table shots are pretty fun to do, all things considered. So I'm going to take a quick look. Yeah, no, okay. I read it. I sped read it. Yeah, no, that is exactly what is the purpose of the round table for this. It is keeping characters equidistant, so that they have to work harder to gain attention. And so then things will start off boring and stagnant, and then they get more and more interesting. All right, cool. I do like a good round table scene. I'm gonna roll the dice again. 45. Jeez Louise, it's in the same section. All right. What is 45? Ooh, okay, this is the exact opposite, unfortunately. No, it's not square table. This is... I was afraid this would be what I rolled. I kind of remembered that this one would be along here. This is along the line. All right, this isn't impossible by any means. Along the line is... Okay. It is when characters are facing one direction and okay, so maybe they're all looking over here. Actually, no, this is really easy to do. See, I'll just already combine this with round table. So our vanishing point is going to be over here, far on like screen right, or it could be far on screen left if we did this in the opposite angle. And then what's going to happen is that the camera, someone's going to walk by or something, maybe to motivate. Hey, like, look, there's something over there off screen. What's that? And so all these characters that are sitting here facing that way, the camera is going to push in slowly, and we're going to get their reactions as they turn or talk. We're like, oh, whoa, what is that over there? Here's the person I was walking by. It's like, yeah, isn't that weird? So the camera's going to push in, and we're actually going to get closer to them to get their expressions. Like as we're talking. Or not as we're talking, as they are talking. So they're looking curiously at whatever the heck it is that's happening off screen. Maybe what's happening off screen isn't important, but it's semi-important. Yeah, this is a type of shot I do not use very much. I do not have much of a purpose for using this type of shot. It's not something that comes intuitively to me. For some reason, just this angle, the idea that you're having characters intentionally facing away from the camera, but not for any dramatic reasons, just because, I don't know, I guess you're not supposed to be connecting with them yet. You're not supposed to be emotionally engaged yet. This is another section that I'm going to have to read a little bit of the description on, just to make sure that I'm not butchering it, and that I'm not accidentally, doing something that is going to hinder the story. Okay. Okay. All right. I read it. See, normally I don't have to do much reading. I just know these. So I guess part of the reason for doing along the line, based off of this description, is that it's just a way to have multiple characters in a shot at the same time. It's a very convenient way to do a setup. And the main reason why you have this character show up on screen left is so that these characters will turn. You know what? This is going to be the opening for this scene. I already know that this is what I'm going to do for the opening for this sequence. I'm probably going to do this shot first, and then I'm immediately going to go into round table. I think that's exactly how this is going to work. Okay, that's good. Cool. All right, I think this. I think what I learned from yesterday's session was when having multiple characters like this on a scene or a set at once, it is much faster for me to draw big panels. I'm going to go for a square ratio because I'm feeling a little pretentious. All right. Very cool. All right. I haven't really done a lecture this morning. Sorry. Does anyone want a mini lecture? Normally I rant about something for a long time. Like usually the first 20 minutes of every section, I rant about a random subject, about cinematography or camera moves or something like that. And this morning I don't have much to talk about, but I could talk about something. I could talk about eye tracking. I almost talked about it the other day, and then I didn't. my teaching inclinations are telling me that I am going to talk about eye tracking in just a second. Yeah, why not? Okay. I'll be brief. Maybe it doesn't work if I try to force the discussion. By the way, what is eye tracking, and like why is it important? And why is it underutilized in beginning storyboard artist work? So eye tracking. Ooh. Let's see what this is. So eye tracking is exactly what it sounds like. It is tracking where the audience's eye looks. So if I have a discussion like this, or a scene like this, where like, hey, there's a character here, and hey, there's a character here, the viewer's eye is hopping between these two spots. You know, it's going back and forth as each character says a line of dialogue. However, what happens is if one character moves or does something, like let's say he decides to lean over, this immediately draws the audience to, hey, this is more important. You also notice he's kind of taking up more screen space. And so what happens is that the eye will flick here as he's doing the action. And then what you can do is, let's say this guy's pulling out a business card. You know, he's comparing it to Paul Allen's. And so he's about to pull out this business card, and he's going to flip it up. And so here we're going to cut to this close-up, and he is going to flip the business card up this way. So, you know, he has the card in his hand. You know, Paul Allen. He pulls it out. He flips it forward towards the audience. Paul Allen's business card is very cool. Sorry, that is a weird looking finger. That's the thumb. Okay. So what happened here in terms of eye tracking is that they're talking. See, they're going back and forth. This guy then moves this way to screen left, and he's pulling this up to this location. And so then what happens is then when we cut in, you are expecting an action to happen here. And so his hand is moving towards the anticipation that was already set up in the previous shot to look right there. And then he's going to continue that arc. And then when he swings it out, it is now over here. So what's happening is that the momentum from one shot to the other that your eye is tracking is flowing through multiple shots. So technically, in terms of your eye movement is just doing, let's say, here's what your eye is doing without any, sorry, still tired, still running on like 4 hours of sleep. This is what your eye is doing throughout all these shots combined. It is ending up here. Or I guess technically you might say it's going like this, like that. And so that's what your eye's doing throughout all these shots combined. And so that's what eye tracking is. Eye tracking is making sure that you are leading and guiding the audience's eye so that it is easier for them to watch and so that things are smooth and seamless. So if you don't pay attention to eye tracking, you can accidentally make very jarring cuts and edits that will actually distract the audience, and it'll make it confusing as to what's happening or where something is happening. Eye tracking actually is such a powerful tool that you can get past a lot of continuity errors and a lot of geography issues just through eye tracking alone. Like, if you are good enough at eye tracking, you can basically say screw it to continuity rules and like screw it to like geography. There are many movies that do this where the eye tracking is so good that characters will just teleport around a room. They will not be where they're supposed to be. between shots, and objects will just disappear and reappear in different locations in a room. And the reason is because the editing is so smooth and seamless that that you don't care and you don't even notice it. You know what I mean? It's like if it's smooth and seamless and it doesn't break your attention, then you won't really know when something wrong has happened. This reminds me that I'm actually going to need to do a big long video on this someday. This is a subject I actually do want to make a video on, because across the Spider-Verse, in the final action scene, not infamously, I think cleverly does this a lot. There are times where Miles Morales is like on front of the train, or the maglev, in across the Spider-Verse, where he's like on front of it, where like here's the front of the maglev, and then in like the next shot he is on the back of it, like for some reason. And this is just because the cutting and the editing and the pacing of everything is so good that you don't even really notice the continuity issues. There's actually a scene where he technically he like looks forward, and so your eye looks forward, but actually what he's doing is he's actually physically in space looking behind the train. He's looking in this direction, and so like they just totally flipped the camera for like one moment, and because emotionally it's more important to feel like he's looking forward for the emotion of the scene, but in reality he's actually looking backwards in the scene. And that's just the I'm gonna actually make a video on this subject. I think this is the one subject that I feel like people that are professionals at like making action scenes, they know this. People who do like Sakuga or anime action scenes, they understand this concept of eye tracking, that you can get away with a lot of garbage in terms of continuity if the eye is consistently where it needs to be. And you won't notice that this stuff is happening unless you actually flip through a scene basically in super slow motion and track where everything is, and you'll be like, oh, like this doesn't make any sense physically, but emotionally it does, and tracking wise it makes sense. There's one, I think it's the League of Legends Rise music video, where there's a shot where a character is running past a pole. He like jumps up and runs past a pole, so now the pole is like here, and he has his like blade on screen right, and what happens is no, he has his blade on screen left. That's the weird bit. He has his blade on screen left, and then he swings it to screen right, and then what happens is in the next shot, the blade is on, in the reverse shot behind him, the blade is now on screen right. And so the reason that, which is physically in the opposite direction that he swung. So if he's swung to screen right, it should be on screen left in this shot. But because of the rules of eye tracking, it then just continues to go onto screen right. So it is actually physically going in the exact opposite direction that he swung between the two shots. However, because of eye tracking, screw it. It's like whatever flows better for the audience's eye is more important. Yeah. All right, cool. Cool. I got a rant in. I got a little morning rant in. That's what's important. I really wanted to get that in. I think it's important that there's a little lecture in the morning. But eye tracking, very important, heavily underutilized. The other big one is negative space. And that's even something that I'm not good at. When cutting between shots, you sometimes have to use negative space to fill in gaps or remove gaps from scenes in a composition. And that's like a silent killer of storyboards, where when watching an animatic, you'll just be like, this cut feels weird, and it could follow all the rules, but because the negative space and positive space isn't fitting like a puzzle piece in between shots, it just will look bad, and you won't know why. And something that no one like explains to storyboard artists, or I think to many people, like even film in general. I don't know how many, except for editors. I think editors understand it, but I don't think storyboard artists generally understand it. Except I did know a storyboard artist who understood it, and he didn't explain it to me, but he like intuitively knew it, which is like, this shot is bad. It's like, this cut is bad. And I was like, why? It's like, it fits all the rules. It's like, it just doesn't feel right. And it wasn't until like going back and forth with, oh, it's the positive space and negative space. What the heck am I doing? I'm going to explain this. I'm not going to fully explain it, but I'm going to just explain it barely. It is weird for me to say this. Okay, so positive space and negative space. Here's a character. Hi. Character 1. This is the negative space. This is him. He's the positive space. He's very positive. Because of this negative space here, basically my options, or convenient options for cutting back and forth, is I can either fill in this space with 2 other people. I'm doing the reverse angle. So I could have 2 people. So remember, he was here, and now he's not. And now there's people in the negative space. So you see, here's one shot, one. See, this is angle 1. And this is angle 2, or shot 2. That makes more sense. So shot 1, shot 2. So because of this, because you remember that there was a character in the center here, it will feel like between these 2 shots that he is between these 2 characters. So maybe here's 2 people that are angry. You know, they're in an alleyway or something like that. And now the negative space is this long alleyway behind them. See? The alleyway is now the negative space. And I don't know why this keeps on doing that. So hopefully that makes sense. And so sometimes in shots, you can have really weird cuts that should on paper work. I'm trying to remember the one that I did that felt weird. It's like 2 people leaning out of a car and they like look back. And then the issue was that the character that they were looking back to, I think, was filling up the same negative space that they were. This is the person like on top of the car. I'm trying to remember what. See, this is what I was saying, is that this is a really hard thing to like figure out when you're doing it. It's just certain shots do not feel right or good together, even if they technically follow the correct rules. I forget. There was one editor. It was from the 1950s. I was watching one of his videos where he had like a shot of like a railroad track, and all this was countryside and negative space. And then he cut basically to the opposite, where it was a scene in like a church with a whole bunch of people. And then someone walking, I think, down towards the camera. And the reason was because this shape here with the railroad tracks led a vertical motion. And so then what he did is he wanted to do the opposite. So then you have someone coming down towards the camera, or, you know, closer to the camera. So this is leading your eye away. And then you have a character that's moving towards the camera and getting bigger. And then making sure that the negative space is this shape, which is the opposite, not the full opposite, but at least this is the positive space, and now that positive space is now the negative space. Yeah. I am not an expert on this subject. This is a subject I will admit I am very weak on. I'm gonna make sure this says positive and not POS. Don't want anyone to get offended. Yeah. All right. Cool. Double lecture. Something I know about. Something I know very little about. All right. Cool. Let's go. All right. All right. Cool. I'm gonna set my timer. Did I click record? I really hope I did. I did. That was close. I was worried for a second. Right. Got my timer set. Got my brushes out. Okay, cool. Okay. I know what I'm gonna do. This is the establishing shot. I'm not gonna... Establishing shots I sometimes put on the timer, but I usually don't. Just because, this is gonna be some junky place. There's wires and stuff hanging. I don't know what. Yeah, establishing shots I usually don't set on the timer, just because there needs to be more detail to establish like where a character is. They have an AC unit sitting right over the doorway. You'd be surprised as to how many places I've been to that have the AC unit right over the doorway. It's kind of like, why? Why there? It's like it's just gonna drip water down on people. Okay. I'm gonna put this on a separate plane. Okay. I'm gonna put it farther back. This is gonna be shot with a wide angle lens for this. We're gonna have the ground be uneven and not level. There's actually some interesting psychological reasons for that, but that's another discussion. All right. Now I'm really ready. We have a shot. All right, let's begin. Okay, cool. So I'm just making these guys get bigger. And I'm just going to flatten out the ground a little here. Character. Entering from the screen left. All right, I'm just going to draw these out. Nope, I'm already not doing that. I'm just going to have this guy at the doorway. We get to the door. There's going to be the guy there. He's leaning. And then he's just going to look up. Like, oh, hey. It's okay there. Just gonna open the door. So the door is going to be opened. So it's opening it for us. Okay. Door's being opened. Got a staircase. And the stairs and a tunnel. So we're gonna go down the staircase. Actually, I want it to be a little. I want this to be a big, tall staircase. Maybe not that tall. There's gonna be a light source down there. Have lights here. There's gonna be shadows of people in the room. And the shadows can go up the walls here. Like, tell there's people in these rooms. That's to lead our eye. So the shadows are going to go into the room. Just so that we're curious as to what's going on in there. I'm going to have this kind of shot where we're going through here. There's going to be people sitting at a round table. There's going to be this person leaning up against the wall here at the bottom of the staircase. So then that way he can look back. He's like, oh, hey, didn't you see you there? And so we know there's something going over here in this corner. Maybe this will be a connection to my one monster storyboard from a while ago. So we're going in. There's a light source over here. We're gonna maybe slightly look back at this guy. He's in the corner there. Maybe there's a poster on the wall or something behind him. Poster. And then our character is going to pass the foreground. He's like, oh yeah. So there's the poster. It's the second time for it in POS. He has a scarf or something he's taking off. Man. Scarves are fun to take off, honestly. Then we're gonna get our character sitting down here in a round table. Hold on. This is a weird setup. I'm still figuring out the geography of this room. And what angle I'm even at. Let's see. All right. Mental recap downstairs. I don't think they need to be that far away. I think they're physically a lot closer. I'm going to redo this shot later, because I'm realizing that I do not have the geography figured out for this room very well. Here's the light. This is a little claustrophobic. What he's going to do, he's going to lean up against the table. Taking off his scarf. Sorry, these drawings are bad this morning. So these are going to have to be shrunk to fit in with that shot. And then he's going to glance off in that direction. Just going to make this character look back. And we're gonna push in. This character still hasn't been seen yet. And he's gonna so he's kind of leaning back, and we still have that guy in the foreground. That guy's gonna look over. He's gonna look back at him. It's like, yo, did you get a look at that? This guy's gonna. I don't know what they're. That guy's gonna look back at the thing. He's gonna get kind of pushed off screen. Until he gets background and screen. But he's going to be out of focus. He's going to be like, we're going to need to make sure this guy's out of focus. Sorry, this is me showing off in terms of camera moves. Maybe this guy's gonna be like, can you get off the table? There's the two guys from the beginning. He now has his scarf off. he's someone off screen. He's gonna have yelled to all of them or something like that. Camera's gonna boom up or raise up. I guess point to him. He's like, hey. Be like, hey, you get off the table. Sorry, this is not a gripping narrative. This is a more of a showcase in camera moves. What's happening is technically complicated, but I don't know if it's good. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like, I won't do it again. Need a smaller brush. I'm drawing super slow today. He's like smacking his hands together. Alright, so we're pushing into this guy. This is like a big boss character. He's like, thank you all for coming. Or something like that. Some sort of cliche. There's his hands in the foreground. And we're going to cut to an overhead. The camera's going to orbit a little bit around them. And get a mild orbit. Yeah, it's just easier for me to draw the orbit manually than to actually use like a rotation tool. Okay, that was a slow morning. I will once again use the excuse of I only got like 4 hours of sleep. This is a cool tracking shot. It got both of the points that were needed. So that's good. You got both of the points that were needed, and it also yeah. All right, let's summarize the scene. Let's go through this quickly. All right, so we're going through some sort of weird dungeony back alley with wires and stuff like that. Maybe this is like some sort of noir sci-fi or something like that. Camera pushes in. Hey, fancy seeing. What are you doing in these parts, sir? Or something like that. I don't know. He's like, oh, good seeing you. Just messing. Opens the door. We go down. We see shadows and stuff like that. Someone's going down. There's someone at the sitting in the door frame. He's like, oh, hey, long time no see, dude. Poster. Our main character cuts into the foreground. Or not cuts into the foreground. He walks past the foreground. Says, hey, he takes the scarf off. We go down. These guys need to be further away. I said I'd fix this. Here I am now fixing it. It should be higher in the frame, like there. There should be other people in the room, just to make it feel like that there's something going on. He leans up against the table. He's talking to them. They're talking, they look over too. We go past this guy. We go down onto the table. Here's like a drink. We go really low to the table, and then there's the guy who originally entered the room, who's still taking off his scarf. And we do this turn, because someone talks off screen. It's like, hey, get off the table. Like, oh, okay, yeah, sorry. It's like, all right, now that everything's in order, thank you all for coming here, or something like that. We get this little camera orbit. And then what we do is we'd probably have a shot that's like, okay, we have this camera orbit, and then we'd probably have some sort of like rotation amongst these characters, where we're like in the center of the table turning. Just to like see everyone's expressions. So you see it'd be something like, here's this, here's a little perspective grid, and whoa, the perspective grid is turning. to show that the camera is turning. Something like that. And then we would have a fun scene where we're using all these different orbits and turns and pivots and snaps and stuff like that to go from one character to another, talking and yelling over each other as things get crazier and crazier. But yeah, no, that was a tricky one. Okay, it wasn't tricky. That was actually an easy one to draw. That was an easy one to do. And also, as I mentioned, I managed to get both of these prompts in. I got the round table. There's a round table. And I got along the line. It's brief, but the along the line happens right down here. So yeah, I mean, again, this isn't terrible or anything like that. Sorry, I'm trying to like convince myself that I didn't fail this. Yeah, I mean, I got like, 60 drawings or something like that in 22 minutes. Ideally, I would have gotten like 80 or something in, but whatever. All right. Well, I don't think there's much more for me to do with this scene. Maybe theoretically tomorrow I could try continuing this scene and see if I can get this round table dialogue to fit with whatever tomorrow's prompts are. So then that way I at least have a story being told and not just a cool opening tracking shot. Maybe. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll try and continue the story. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Either way, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for dropping by, and see you later.